back to the rundown, folks. I'm your host, Dr. Sam Zender, and today's topic is admittedly going to be a little bit of a soapbox, not just professionally, but also personally for me, because I've seen a lot of people in the landscape of healthcare, health, fitness, all of that, be taken advantage of. And the concept of a charlatan, a snake oil salesman, something like that, whatever you want to call it, is not new. Of course, it's been around since humans have existed, because it really just stems from unfortunate side of human nature, which is to try to get what you want, regardless of the means, right? Call it greed, call it power, call it manipulation, whatever. Social media and the internet have made that much easier for a lot of people. And sadly, the lies and the misrepresentations of the truth, maybe that's even a nicer way to put it, are easier to perpetuate and are easier to spread. But it's critical. It's a critical skill, really, at this point in any domain, not just health and fitness, to audit what you're hearing and what you're reading and what someone's telling you, and really ask if it's the truth. It's a sad part of life in general right now is there's very little trust, really, in any domain, and sometimes for good reason. But in this sector of healthcare and people trying to live their healthiest lives and take care of themselves, it's difficult to know who do you trust, what do you trust, how do you interpret what information is being delivered to you, because we're not all experts. And even being a professional in this industry, I'm certainly not an expert in many topics, right? I'm a specialist in what I know, but I work with a lot of professionals in other settings and other disciplines because you need to. We can't all be experts in everything. But it is frustrating to me how many people will just set any sense of morals, ethics, compassion aside to try to make a quick buck, take advantage of people, and do it in a way that oftentimes requires fear. Right? We sign up for certain things, we purchase certain things, we subscribe, whatever action you want to pick, oftentimes based from emotion. And the easiest one that many influencers or many experts, whatever we want to call them, will use is fear-based. And we try to prey on people's emotions out of a sense of, the what if I don't subscribe to this? What if I don't take this, pill or do this program or listen to this person? How is my life going to be so much more negative? And that's the frustrating part for me, is that many people get taken advantage of in a fear-driven model. And so the goal for myself and many other professionals who recognize like this is a huge issue and we need to do what we can, try to be the louder voice. And the goal is always to educate people in a way that is somewhat comforting. Sometimes it's not necessarily the easier message to hear, but comforting in the sense that yes, there are other options out there, and maybe the one that you're looking at right now maybe didn't work, maybe did get taken advantage of, but don't give up hope. Oftentimes the fundamentals are what work, and so we'll expand on that later. But uh, snake oil salesmen, this idea of charlatans or experts coming in and saying that they have the magic solution or that their proprietary formula or program is what works. It's not new. It's something that has been around for a while, as we said. But in the health and fitness industry, it manifests oftentimes as either a quick solution to eliminate pain or to reduce weight, have the body of your dreams, have the fitness capacity of your dreams, maybe accomplish some athletic achievement. And it's important for us to really analyze the claims that are being made and question people when they do make those claims. This is something that I'm very sensitive to as a physical therapist. In my daily practice, clients will ask straight up questions such as, what's the best stretch for whatever pain I have, or what is the best program I should be on, or how can I prevent these things from happening, right? We want we speak in absolutes, and that's normal, right? Our brains, as complex as they are, we also try to think the simplest solution is going to work, and sometimes it does. But many times in the health and fitness realm, there might not be that quick instant solution, or there's not generally not going to be. And so that's something that I have to deliver in a message is, well, unfortunately, there's probably not one best way to do this. There's not one only way. There's a lot of options, so let's go over those. But a lot of it's going to come down to, you being able to stay consistent and honestly just be patient enough to accept the results. So that's not easy to hear, right? Because we want to have that fast solution. I am not a patient man myself. Ask my wife. I do not like to wait really for anything. I certainly can appreciate how people want that fast solution. The reality, though, when it comes to living your healthiest life, or having the body that you want, the capacity that you want, the health that you want, is that it takes discipline and it takes time. Really, those two ingredients, I would say, are the key. And I'm obviously not the first person to say this. I won't be the last. I'm not saying anything new, but it's not exciting. It's not easy to market that, right? How do you make it interesting to tell people that, well, it takes work, right? Something just takes work and it's boring, but it's going to work, right? That's not fun. It's much easier to make some brand new supplements and proprietary product or program, flashy, exciting. It catches our eye. It's something that breaks the cycle of the monotony of living a healthy daily life and makes it seem like, oh, maybe I can get out of this rat race of eating well and exercising consistently and sacrificing certain things at certain times, certain pleasures. Perhaps this new thing that's out is the solution. And I'm not going to, at least in this episode, I'm not going to pick out specific examples. I'm not trying to be inflammatory and say that, this product or this influencer or this, expert, quote unquote, is the problem or is an example of the problem. I'm sure many of you are familiar with different people online that maybe promote certain things and very much market, specific products or programs that they might get paid for. And it's not to say it's all bad. There's many people out there that deliver great work, but I think unfortunately much of many of the popular accounts out there and people and experts and things that we culturally look at as the ideal picture of health and fitness, they are delivering their message with a bias that maybe twists the truth to an extent that is, I would argue, unethical, and I would argue not the most appropriate way to do it, because they are then financially compromised to have to say that their way is the best or their way is the only way or that other ways are inferior. And when we speak objectively and we look at the research, or even at times if you just look through observation of the natural world, those claims fall apart. And in some ways that can be crushing, right? To hear that, well, the expert that I trusted or the thing that I trusted is not legitimate. That's not necessarily the end, though. The next chapter of that storyline is, okay, but that means that there's so many other opportunities and so many other ways to get better, right? Or to stay healthy or to stay fit, what have you. So, and let me give you just a general example. In the PT side of things and rehab in general, again, we want those quick fixes. And there's a lot of physical therapists, whether it's on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, what have you, that will make posts to the effect of, POV, you tried this one stretch and your back pain went away, right? Or the thumbnail makes it look like, do these 3 exercises to eliminate your knee pain or your back pain or what have you. And I get it. I do my social media as well. I'm, at least partly in the atmosphere of creator world. So I get you have to make it attractive, of course. The problem is, though, that the whole message ends up going down that road, and now people start to think like, oh, this is the quick solution, and this is the only way that I can reduce my pain. Now, if it helps, great. Of course, I'm never going to criticize somebody who helped another person get out of pain. The challenge there, though, is that you've now formulated a belief that this is the only way I can do it, this is the best way, and either that therapist who made that video or not just therapist, maybe it's chiropractor, maybe it's physician, whatever, doesn't really matter. Let's not harp on the term that I'm using there. It's more about just, person delivering a message to the public, that you can get biased by seeing an N of 1 case go well and think that, oh, this must be the right way. This must be the best solution for this individual. Or even worse is, the non-expert, the patient in that case, then will be an advocate of this approach as being the only way to do it. And perhaps, a second episode of this pain comes around for them and they try that first solution and it didn't work. And now they're desperate because they feel like, well, if this, magic solution isn't working, then I must have the worst case scenario. Or they tell their friend and then their friend's pain doesn't go away from the solution, and maybe there causes more distrust between them or between other providers. The point is, it's difficult to maintain a healthy relationship all the way around and really help optimize people's health and fitness long term if we are boxing them into thinking that there's only one best approach to eliminating pain. And we talked about pain last time, so I won't get into all the depths of the topic there, but the idea, of course, or the main idea is that it's complex, right? So no, there's not a magic solution for pain. There's not even a magic, or I should say a universal trigger for certain types of pain, even certain diagnoses, right? There's a lot of different things that will cause like patellar tendinopathy. A lot of different things will cause low back pain. A lot of different things will cause rotator cuff strains. There's not just one reason why we feel what we feel, and there's not one solution for it. So if somebody approaches you or some expert claims to have this perfect solution, those are the types of things that I would say we need to take a pause, step back, audit their claim, say, well, why do you feel like this is the way we have to do it? Why can't we potentially explore other options or consider what else can be done? Because again, pain and human biology is very complex, and we're complex creatures. We need a variety of different solutions. But even outside of the rehab side of things, if we talk more like fitness, performance based, this is probably where the snake oil, if you will, gets much more prevalent. Lines of supplements, different products, different performance programs, even things that are legitimately valid and have been helpful. I think of creatine as a great example. The facts around them get twisted, and the way that the message gets delivered makes it sound like it's a miracle drug. And creatine is not a drug. I'm just using that as a general phrase. It's very safe. It's one of the best things, honestly, you could take. One of the best substances, I would argue, that pretty much anybody can take. It's essentially non-harmful. It's not going to destroy your kidneys. There's a lot of benefits for even cognitive, impact, not just the musculoskeletal side of things. But if we really look at the research, despite all the decades of research that point to it being positive, look at the research and look at what the effect is in trials where creatine is used, right? You're not going to take somebody who is completely unfamiliar with resistance training or strength training, performance training, what have you, give them a couple days or weeks of creatine and then just watch them turn into a professional athlete. Obviously, they still have to put in the work, and even those that do put in the work, as far as a consistent long-term program to improve their health and their fitness, creatine is going to be maybe a couple percentage points of improvement, depending on what metric we look at, right? If we look at power or speed or muscle mass, 2, 3, 4% maybe improvement. You could argue like at the high level, high professional level, like that makes a big difference. But I'm talking more to just the general population here, and that you and I are not going to notice or really have much effect on our day-to-day life or even long-term life from a 2% difference in, one test of our strength, for example. That's not going to make or break really the quality of our life, I would argue. But that's not the society we live in, right? We live in a society where the overall message gets summarized into, oh, creatine does all these things. Creatine will, massively increase your strength and do, all these different types of positive things for you. And that's not wrong. It's not a lie, but it gets blown out of proportion. And some people will try to even create their own, like, quote unquote blend of creatine, which is, it's all pretty similar, to be honest with you. So why would your creatine, just because it has your name or your face on it or whatever, be better than the other person's? It's a natural substance. We find it in meat, for example, too. So I just give creatine as an example because it's the first one that I think a lot of us will think of, but there's plenty of other, different kinds of supplements out there that this whole thing gets twisted on, right? And supplementation is maybe the easiest way for us to contextualize the point here, is that even the things that are going to help, which honestly are not that many, I would say creatine, caffeine, beta alanine may be another supplement that, depending on your performance goals, could help with. Obviously, macronutrient count, not being a supplement, but other sides of nutrition are important as well. But point is, all of those things, they may help, but even when they do, it's very minor. Like, we still have to have the fundamentals of putting in consistent exercise, timed exercise, having a deliberate program that will slowly progress in intensity, in volume, at an appropriate level to make sure that we actually keep adapting to different stresses and get stronger. We need adequate sleep. We need to minimize stress in our life when we can, so that we can actually grow and not, burn out. So without those ingredients, like all of the other kind of magical things that are out there, supplements, products, all of that, they don't mean anything because you don't have the foundation to your lifestyle. So that's why it's important, I think, to really, especially put supplements as an example, put those through a lens of truth seeking. And I recognize, like, okay, a lot of the messages that maybe I'm hearing are not, they're not well substantiated. Or if I look at the evidence, really understand, like, what is the impact that this thing might be having on me, and it's probably pretty minimal. The same is true for other types of interventions, we'll call them. The idea of biohacking, cold plunge has been the subject of a lot of people's attention recently, over the last couple of years. Red light therapy, laser therapy, things like this. We try to get these quick fixes, right? We want this fast solution. We want this thing that's going to put us over the top. And some article may come out, some research may be developed where, yes, the end result is between two different groups. We might see a slight improvement in certain biomarkers. But again, when we really look at the details, that result tends to be pretty minuscule. And then we would also, I would argue, we should ask the question of how much does that matter anyway? Like, does it really impact our long-term our long-term health in the grand scheme of things, if things like, for example, heat shock proteins or our acute testosterone, if that increases or decreases or changes, from a bout or from several bouts of cold plunge or red light therapy or whatever it is, right? That's not the message that gets pushed, right? The message that gets pushed is, this thing, whatever it is, this tool, this process is amazing and you need to do it. And if you're not doing it, you're going to be missing out on all these benefits. The problem is that's all we focus on, right? All we focus on is the short-term piece. We just focus on how we can quickly get to our cold plunge, quickly get to the red light therapy. The whole time we are not eating well, we're not sleeping well, we're not exercising enough or intensely. We're not even challenging our body to a stimulus where a cold plunge would be warranted. And we're completely redirecting our attention, our priorities to things that don't ultimately matter and really don't drive the change to our behavior or to our physical fitness like we want it to. And that's really the problem that I have, and I think a lot of other providers have, is that these charlatans will say they've completely shifted our focus away from what matters in life and what matters in health in our society. And so it's very difficult now to have a conversation. Now, I would never say that those types of things should not be done. I'm not here to say that they're harmful. I'm not making claims that I can substantiate as well. I can't deny the evidence that is out there for, certain cases. Yes, there may be some small improvement. My point is, again, what is the foundation of your lifestyle? If it's these quick fixes or these short-term ingredients that are not going to stick without the long-term piece, then quite frankly, you're wasting your time, or your time is being wasted by somebody else. In worst case, you could be out, significant amounts of money as well, in addition to your time. And that's something that frustrates me, and it frustrates other providers as well too, that I know are like-minded in this, because the basics, the fundamentals are really what have always worked and what will continue to work as long as we're biological creatures. So It's not a fun message. It's not exciting. It's difficult to market. But it's one that I think we need to just keep acknowledging and keep pushing, that the basics of eating well, not over consuming food, making sure you have well-rounded variety of nutrients, protein, carbs, fats, all of that, keep things balanced to meet your needs. You're getting adequate sleep. You are on a consistent training schedule that is gradually increasing in intensity, but doesn't create injury and doesn't cause burnout. And that you minimize stress. You're in a community of people that you enjoy being around, or perhaps you do enjoy, a health and fitness lifestyle that is more solo. Great. If that helps reduce your stress, that's fine too. Outside of the gym or outside of home, making sure that stress at work is minimal, which of course isn't always in our control, but you do what you can to try to minimize that. We're not, putting things into our minds or into our bodies that are increasing stress, inflammation excessively, because all of that is going to feed on itself in a negative way. But again, without that, all these quick fixes, these claims that get made, they're meaningless. And the last thing I want to keep seeing is people being taken advantage of by products or by people that are unsubstantiated and that are not going to really deliver the long-term results they want. So bottom line is this: stick to the basics. They're what have always worked, and they're what will keep working. The supplementation and additional accessories for your fitness are helpful only when you have that strong foundation. So find a program both on the nutrition, sleep, and fitness side or the exercise side of things that is sustainable for you, that you can stick with. And only from that point will you be able to reap the rewards and live the life and develop the health that you are looking for.